to the Space Game Junkie Podcast. I, as always, am your co-host, Brian. Joining me, as always, is your co-host, Jim.
Bring out your dead.
I'm not dead yet. I feel happy. And also joining us is your co-host, Hunter.
What's going on, peoples?
I'll tell you what's going on. The game's loading.
Yeah.
That's what's going on.
Yeah.
So, for some reason... Oh, that's another thing, right? So, they just put a DLC out. Ha! Who'da thunk it? But they put a DLC out that is the Reaper's Due. So, they finally put the Plague in the game?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I've got it. So, here we go. All right.
Do you not get the Plague otherwise?
Yeah, no, the Plague I don't think has ever been a part of the game. But you can also hire a court physician as well.
Do you get those cool guys with the bird masks? The apothecary-looking dudes with the...
Yeah. I don't know.
You know what I'm talking about.
I do know what you're talking about, but I don't know if you get them. So, folks, you might be wondering, hey, this doesn't look like a space game. Well, there's a reason we're doing this. We were supposed to have a guest tonight, and they never confirmed, so we don't have a guest.
And we're so angry that we've abandoned space games entirely and have gone back to historical simulations.
Yeah, big news. We're changing the site to Historical Game Junkie, and it's going to be all about Crusader Kings II and Europa Universalis for the foreseeable. No.
And Total War games.
Total War, and all the AGOD games. No. So I asked my co-host here, let's talk about a topic. What do you got? And Hunter's like, fuck, I want to talk about expectations and expansions. He was like, you were like, argh. So, I'm like, all right. So I thought, why don't we play a game from what is probably the best and worst example of DLC? Crusader Kings II from Paradox Entertainment. Or Interactive. Is it Paradox Interactive?
Yeah. Is this DLC that adds in, portraits of French girls?
They have all of that.
Is that necessary?
No, it's not necessary. But
So it's because for $1.99, I can be painted like one of your French girls. I don't know. They have everything, right? There's kitchen sink DLC that's 99 cents. There's so much DLC for this thing. And if you want the soundtrack to be heavy metal, you can totally buy the Viking metal soundtrack for this.
All right,
because
now I saw that.
You couldn't just turn on your own music.
Okay, the game's trying to load now.
Yay!
Did you restart Steam? Is that what you did? Did you?
Nope.
Wow.
Oh, wow. Why do you want to imprison this guy? Okay, I'll imprison.
Oh, yeah, is time rolling? No, we're on pause, right? We're paused.
So, who is Dovetail Games, Kilrathi? Are they the ones with Train Simulator? Is that them? Because, they're pretty bad, but none of us own Train Simulator. But isn't it true, at least with them, you're buying, actual trains, right? And you're buying...
Well, I think there's some scenery stuff, too. Hey, do you want this train station or whatever?
Oh, yeah.
So they took the model of, Flight Simulator.
Yeah,
where
Flight
it's
Simulator, exactly.
Hey, here's Newark Airport for $20. You can have a photorealistic Newark, New Jersey, main terminal or something.
Wow, this game works great in 5960 by 1080. Right out the box, it is in widescreen mode.
Oh yeah, it was doing 3440 for me. By default, it was just your monitor's big. Let's go big. And I was like,
that's nice.
No, I want you smaller.
So Hunter, what was on the forefront of your mind when you decided to mention this topic?
Weed.
Well, no. Legitimately, there's just this thing that we're in as a gaming culture community now, right? That is DLC, and it's been a thing for a while now, several years, in fact, and with the latest thing with Ark specifically, we're seeing the difference between free DLC and what's paid DLC, and what determines if it's paid or free, right? And the quality of it, for example. Because the expectations of things are pretty crazy. You look back in the day at the DLC, or I guess DLC formerly known as expansions, right? So
it's basically developer made mods that they sell you, as opposed to public made mods that you get for free.
Yes and no, though. Like that's the weird thing about it, right? So you have different types of DLC, but in some cases, DLC could almost be interchangeable as an expansion. And I'll give you an example. You look at a great classic one just to think of right off the top of my head is StarCraft and then Brood War. So like with StarCraft, you had your base game, which had 3 campaigns and multiplayer, 3 separate campaigns and multiplayer. Then when Brood War came out, you got an additional 3 campaigns plus new units for multiplayer. So, and it all got added on to like one thing. So like once you had it, you could play the first 3 campaigns over again and then keep playing through the new 3 campaigns. And the interesting thing about that is in some cases with DLC now, they're like, get this new map pack for multiplayer, and it's just it's a series of maybe like 4 or 5 maps for a multiplayer thing that's like $15 to $20 for this DLC. And at the end of the day, like what are you really getting other than just, and who knows if any of those maps are going to be any good. I don't know. There's a very unique thing there. But then there's some DLC. For example, with Sins of a Solar Empire comes out with like $5 worth of DLC that adds on a whole new variety to the game. And you look at how many of them they have, and there's like 3 or 4 of them. So you're paying $15 to $20 for which would essentially be the content's worth of an expansion, which is priced accordingly. And Sins of a Solar Empire, as we all know, is a pretty great game, not only for its base game, but for its pretty rigorous,
I would say robust,
community.
Super robust mod community. Yeah. So here's some trivias, right? So DLC is basically a downloadable extension of the game, right? So the very first expansion pack that was a separate campaign in a game, like a sequel expansion that didn't change the original game but just added like a whole new thing, it was actually Dungeon Quest Upper Reaches of Apshai from Infinitron in 1981.
What?
Yep. Yeah, it was like an add-on disc that gave you like a second campaign in Temple of Apshai.
Yeah, that's pretty slick, right?
Which is one of the original roguelikes too.
So this brings up, because again, DLC can either be like add-on stuff, like with CS:GO, for example, you can go and buy guns or skins for guns. All these other games that have purchasable content for them for what is generally a free game. So the way that they make their money more or less is with the content that you buy for the game specifically.
Yeah, by the way, the Infinitron thing, I'm sorry, that's not the developer. That's actually the guy that gave the answer on the thing, so never mind. Epix is who made Temple of Apshai, so it was probably just Epix dudes.
But anyway, so like with the way you look at things today, it feels weird when you think of the modding community was once what really kind of made gaming great, right? So you look at Half-Life, the original Half-Life. It's a great point to start with, Half-Life. And you look at Half-Life and you go, well, then there was the sequels to it with Blue Shift and Opposing Force. Then you got mods from that, such as Day of Defeat and Team Fortress, as well as I think Natural Selection was a mod originally from Half-Life. I could be wrong about that one.
I don't think you are.
And so you have this like spawn, mainly because of the engine was just very easily to be modded. And the same thing could be said about the Quake 3 engine. Like from Quake 3, not only did you have a whole bunch of AAA developed games from the Quake 3 engine, you also had again a robust modding community for the Quake 3 engine. And from these things, you got a lot of, in most cases, I would say, not all of it was great, but I would say about 90% of the stuff you got out of that was actually really good quality stuff. But you see, and again, this is where the replay value comes into play, right? Because now people can go and buy your game, not because they want to play necessarily the base game, but because they're playing the mod that their friends have at the LAN party. So, and of course back then it was also easier to crack games too. So not necessarily were they making all the sales, but that was an issue. But it's kind of like you look at today, there's so much control over the content of what goes into the game that you even with Rockstar, who you'd think Rockstar would be one of those free people that would be on your side. You look at like GTA 4, if you and your buddy had the same mods, you could play multiplayer together, right? But in GTA 5, if you want to play multiplayer with the online stuff, if you have any mods at all, you get your account banned. So there's a real interesting shift in control of content, right? And I'm not talking about hacks here. I'm talking about just legit mods, right?
Yeah. So here's another bit of trivia. Do you remember Redneck Rampage in 1997?
Sure. Yes. Yep.
It holds the distinction as being the first game that ever had legit DLC that was purchased, right? That added a feature to the game you had to buy. It was called the Cuss Pack, which was a strong language add-on that required the original Redneck Rampage. I never heard of this. And it was rated mature. So they had to take all the filth out, and then you could buy the 4-letter words and put back in.
Well, see, that I'm not surprised by that, to be honest with you. It's kind of like
I'm surprised anybody would buy that, but okay.
Well, no, I mean, it's just like, it's not necessarily uncommon for the development process back at that time period, because you look even into the early 90s with the consoles. If you bought the Sega version of Mortal Kombat, you got blood. If you bought the Nintendo version of Mortal Kombat,
got the green blood.
You got the green stuff, which wasn't really blood because, Nintendo had this thing about violence. So I'm not really surprised that they had an additional thing you could purchase, considering it was a computer thing.
Yeah, like in Wolfenstein, they wouldn't even let you shoot dogs, would they?
What?
There was like a problem with that on Nintendo, I thought, with Wolfenstein.
Yeah. So you look at the quality, and all of a sudden now it's about content control, and it really frustrates me, because you look at something like I don't know, Battlefield 2 and all the mods that came out of Battlefield 2, but then you look at Battlefield 3, nothing. You look at Battlefront 2, which was the Star Wars game, crazy amounts of mods and customization. Then you look at the new Battlefront, and it's just like you can't touch it. Like there's nothing you can do. And I am baffled by the expectation, because I am hashing out to a company like EA. What is it, like $120 initially for like the full package if I wanted the base game plus the season pass, which would give me all of the content, but then what do I get to do with it? Do I just get to play it? I really can't. If I wanted to customize or make my stormtrooper armor have a Deadpool color palette, I couldn't do that.
Right.
So there's really a big expectation, like when you look at what you used to be able to do with your games in the past. When you purchased them, you could do all kinds of things with them, but now content creators are getting so in control of their stuff. But some content creators are like, yes, we want you to be able to mod it, such as Sins of a Solar Empire.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm getting my ass whooped by the Holy Roman Empire.
That sucks.
Yeah, I have a very I try to have kind of an agnostic view of DLC. Like, I love expansion packs. Like, I miss the days where, like, games had honest to goodness expansion packs. Like, you mentioned StarCraft when we were originally talking about this. With Brood War, right?
Yeah.
That's a big one. Total Annihilation had a few great ones. The first Free Space had a great one.
Well, then you had like Warcraft 2 had an expansion, and then Warcraft 3 had an expansion. Like in these added like full on campaigns, you know.
Exactly. They enhance the value of the game, and I'm not sure if a character portrait that you can actually buy for a game enhances. Maybe it does. Maybe some people like that shit. I don't know. I mean, why do they keep making it for games like this? I kind of don't understand.
Right. Kilrathi made a good point where the content is online only. You know, I get that, but then again, we're looking at two different things. We're looking at matchmaking versus dedicated servers, right? So on one hand, even though the content is online only, if it's an only multiplayer game, in the past, Battlefield was a multiplayer only game. Sure, you could play it by yourself with bots, but still, I mean, you guys see where I'm going with this. Right. I feel like I'm beating a dead horse when I say some of these things sometimes. Like, you guys get it, and it's just one of those things where, like, why is it such an issue today? Like, why are the tools not available, or why do they not want to make that available?
I don't understand. Why not? I mean, all they have to do is look at some games like Free Space 2. I mean, people still buy that because of the mod community. You know, I mean, it's a 17-year-old game now.
Oh, that's great. Kilrathi made another great point about Total Annihilation is that it had free units.
That's true.
For years.
Exactly. So you had a little bit of both with that one. I forgot about that actually.
Right. You know, So let me tell you something. Like, how do you feel about, you know, either of you can answer this question. How do you guys feel about DLC today, though? I mean, there's it just seems like there's such a variety of the kind of DLC that you can get for games. It's anywhere ranging from just aesthetics, like, you know, clothes or a hat that just mean nothing, or it goes all the way up to full-blown campaigns with little things in between. You know, in some cases you have the freemium games, which have nothing but paid content, but, you know, then you look at that and it's like pay to win. I think of Battlefield 3 and 4, for example. You could play the game to unlock certain abilities, or, you know, if you drove the tank lock enough, you were able to level up your tank abilities and get unlocks, or you could buy just like the unlock pack and just get all of those ability and be pay to win, right? You know.
Right, exactly. And Kilrathi brings up a good point. You know, DLC can be great. Look at The Witcher 3. Yeah, that had, what, 2 expansions? And, but then you look at games like Fallout 4, which apparently a lot of people were not very happy with the DLC for that one.
Well, it was just like the I wouldn't necessarily say quality, but like the quantity of what the DLC provided. You know, just kind of like, oh, great, like more stuff I can use to build this house that no one ever is going to see. Like, yeah, because, you know, you look at, like, again, we keep using this as an example because it's just a really good one. But StarCraft 2, when you bought the original one, it had its own box, it had its own box art, it had its own manual, it had, you know, the whole thing. And then you get Brood War. It had its own box. It had its own manual. You know, it had its own stuff, but it was an expansion, or I guess in today's term, it was DLC. You know, this is why I guess I really appreciate the things and the efforts that GOG does. So, like, 90% of the time when you get a game on GOG, you don't just get the game. Here you go. You get content like to go with it. You get manuals and avatars and all kinds of stuff.
Right, which makes GOG just wonderful. I mean, I wish Steam would do that, but, you know, they don't have to. You know, they're the juggernaut. You know, they don't have to. Like when you see a game that comes out on GOG and Steam, and you're like, yeah, I don't know.
There are times where I've looked at it and go, like, if I see a game that's released on both platforms, I think to myself, do I want the Steam version or do I want the GOG version? And to be honest with you, if it's launched on both, most of the time I'll try and shoot for the GOG version if I can.
Agreed. It's just better. You know, they do a better job incentivizing players. What's going on? Oh, incentivizing players to buy things, like with soundtracks, with manuals, with wallpapers. I mean, they go that extra mile. Like, wasn't there a game Armello, I think it was, where like apparently on GOG it's not going to be updated anymore, whereas on Steam they're just going to keep updating the Steam version but not the GOG version. So they're offering everyone refunds.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
That's
I believe so.
The board game thing, right?
I think so.
Because they just came out with a DLC this week where it's, yeah. So that's interesting, though. They give them refunds, but they still own the game.
How is it that both of you guys have Meridian Squad 22?
I bought it.
I got a key for it.
Son of a bitch.
I'm gonna be honest. There are a lot of people that send me keys that I didn't ask for. So I mean, I see it as a gift. Thank you.
Nice.
You know?
Yeah, no, I just, I'm kind of just, at the point now where I would rather, spend money on quality, because I'm getting kind of tired of this micro DLC crap, and I'm kind of getting tired of these season pass kind of things where the content is in my opinion mediocre at best.
Yeah, well, like, let's talk about Battlefront, right? That was like they released like a one slice of pizza, right? It's like you have to buy the whole pizza now, but we're going to deliver it one slice at a time for a year.
Yeah, and I don't know if I understand that. I don't know if it's because they have to get content out as soon as possible. And then speaking of getting content out as soon as possible, let's talk about the topic of day one DLC for just a second.
I don't get that. I don't get that. I don't get that at all. Day one DLC. It's like
it's almost like pre-order bonus bullshit.
But
not.
It's close. It's very close, because it's one of those things where it's like if you get it at Target, you get this like armor pack, but if you get it at GameStop, you'll get this armor pack, and it's just like
I hate that so much.
Well, in a year, it's just going to be available for everybody, so it's just kind of like, what? If it's day one, if it's coming out the same day as the game that you're releasing, then why don't you just include it in the game? Because clearly you've been working on it during the same... You know what I mean? Like,
Hunter, it's all about giving the player choice. Do they want this extra content or not? They can choose with their dollars. It's as simple as that.
Interesting.
Sorry, I can't.
Playing devil's advocate, you son of a bitch.
I'm sorry, I couldn't do it. I couldn't fucking do it. It's all about choice, Hunter. It's all about giving the player the choice. To give us more money.
Well, right. The thing that I don't like is whenever they make DLC that is sequential like that, and then the community, if you're playing it multiplayer, like a single player game, I don't give a shit. But the stuff that seems to get the most beating from DLC is multiplayer, because it's mandatory, right? Like if you're playing Call of Duty, Battlefield, name any game that's multiplayer like that, then it's like if you don't keep up with the DLC, well, everybody else bought it, so you're going to be in a ghost town, right? Like, try to find a game now because everybody else is on the new stuff, and you're not. So now you're a have-not.
Right, and that also brings up another point that I was going to mention, but Kilrathi beat me to the punch. When a game server then shuts down, you'll never get that content again. I think of games of the past that had full-on content, because if you look at like callback again, StarCraft and Brood War, those games are out. They're there. They're on a disc. I have them, and I can play them, and I can play all of their content, no matter what. I can start up a LAN game with a friend of mine and play all of that content. But when you talk about a game that's based on matchmaking, if that ever goes down, you won't be able to play that again. So it's got to take again, if there's still enough community people out there, it's got to take that community. He mentioned GameSpy. That's a great one. Games for Windows Live, another great mention of just when something goes down, either the community's got to fix it, the developers got to fix it, or you're SOL. And I think that that strict online connection, or that strict control of the content, kind of, in my opinion, it devalues what you've tried to accomplish.
This is such a touchy subject.
Sure.
Well, it's I want to see them get paid, but I also want to feel that when I buy something, I've actually purchased it. I'm not just borrowing it, and it doesn't expire because I didn't keep up with the purchase thing. Or if you're gonna make a game that's $120, just be honest and price that shit at $120.
But then no one's gonna buy it.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, right?
Well,
so it's almost like the payment plan. It's I can buy this thing in 5 payments of of $25 or whatever, or I can just pay $125 out front.
Let's think about consoles a little bit more here in this regard too. So let's take take Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2.
Hey, before you go there, the Dreamcast was the first console to have DLC.
Yes.
That makes sense. It had a built-in modem.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So let's look at the consoles for a second with the Xbox. Let's just say the Xbox 360 and Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. All right. And you had the downloadable stuff you could get from Xbox Live, which gave you some more maps and stuff like that. There was some DLC for that. Let's flash forward to, 30 years from now. Or from when that game came out. And there's, some people, at a thrift store, and they find an Xbox with a copy of, Call of Duty whatever, and they have a friend who's a collector who also has Call of Duty or whatever. But you see, because all those online servers don't exist anymore, you can't download that content or get a hold of that content anymore. The consoles are a little bit harsher in that regards, because with a PC there's Internet Archive, and bam, you get whatever the fuck you want. If I want an old patch to a game, to do whatever, I can go find the old patch to that game. And then thankfully we have people that have put together stuff like Evolve, or stuff like what was the other one that we used to use for a while?
Game Ranger, yeah.
Then there's also Hamachi can be used as a VPN to play games. There's a few of them that are out there that are allowing for internet play of old games via a LAN type connection. But it's just
But console gamers are screwed, like Kilrathi said. I didn't know this. Gran Turismo 5 shut off their online servers 1 year after it was out. That's it? That seems ridiculous.
Right, so it's kind of like that replay value is almost gone, because it's almost like looking for that quick cash grab, or that quick game. Or just we'll make a sequel. So we have 30 Assassin's Creeds. Don't worry. It won't matter, because they're not going to play the first ones anymore. We got to keep making new ones to keep blah 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 blah.
Yeah, that is a problem with the yearly Assassin's Creed and Madden and stuff like that. Because a lot of people don't want to buy new Madden year after year after year if it's just a roster update. But they shut down the servers, so they can't play 2015 online anymore with their friends. They're going to buy 2016 or 2017 or whatever. But, I guess it's sad because they keep doing it. We keep buying it.
Well, and that's again another problem is you talk about the consumer will pay with their wallet, but at the end of the day, it's the next generation, like the next generation of gamers, they're just getting used to this. And the generations that have been around are kind of like, hey, like, I don't even own Battlefront. Like, I love Star Wars. I loved Battlefront 1. I love Battlefront 2. I'm the new Battlefront, really, the only good thing about it is it gets you in the feels because it looks and feels like Star Wars. But at the end of the day, that's all it really has going for it. It's the same thing with the new Star Wars movie. It looks and feels like Star Wars, but that's really about it.
Yeah, exactly. I have no interest in getting that new Battlefront. Even though now they're about to do a Death Star thing. It's just the Death Star. Like, that's it? Really?
Yeah, and Rogue Squadron for the N64 or the PC version, whichever one you got, had more like interesting content. I know that it's you're looking at a difference between multiplayer and single player, but why can't a multiplayer be objective based? They do have them. They exist. Like, why not make that a thing?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, speaking of Battlefront, like, it amazes me that, like, Battlefront 2 is still so playable, has so much content. So many people still play it. It's like they gutted Battlefront 3 to a fraction of its former self just so they could gut us, bit by bit. And that's exactly, I think, and that just, it pisses me off to no end. But didn't a lot of people not buy the bullshit with that one? Didn't a lot of people understand that this is crap? Oh.
Yeah, you would think, you would think, but then with other games, you almost have to rely on the community to fix it, right? To make it better. And so this brings up No Man's Sky, right? Because you have well hold on. I mean, like, you have these modders, right, that have come out of the woodwork to make the game playable, right? They've added in the ability to fly low and fly through caves. They've be able to, like, hover, be able to land where you want, turn off the stupid Instagram filter in the game, and it actually runs smoother. Add more, like, density to the space stuff. Like, there's just there's a lot that these modders have added to the game. But at the end of the day, like, what other things are there to do than to look at, right? So there's only so much modders can do, but modders do have the ability to enhance, right? To make things better. It's like you look at the whole fiasco with Watch Dogs, right? During the E3 stuff, the Watch Dogs video for E3, everybody was like, that's freaking amazing. Like, look at the quality of this game. And then when it launched, everybody's like, wait a minute, this game looked way better at E3. What happened? Well, they turned off the graphic enhancements just to sell their game, right? Because they knew it wouldn't be able to run very well on the consoles, because they had to tone it down. But they also had to tone it down for the PC folk, because they didn't want the console folk to get jealous. So then the modders / hackers or whatever found the graphics file that said, hey, you just enable this thing and it, like, makes the game look 10 times better.
Yeah, and Serial Kicked in the chat said that the No Man's Sky team is against modding. And yet there are a lot of mods coming out for that thing.
That are making it better.
Yeah, exactly.
I still stand to this day, and this brings up the point because we're talking about content and price and what you're getting for it. Speaking of a game like No Man's Sky, I think people wouldn't have flipped their shit as much as if the game was, say, $20 instead of $60.
This is very true. Well, France has surrendered to the Holy Roman Empire. This game is crazy.
Yeah, I raised a ginormous army, and I ran them up into Scotland, and then I can't figure out how to actually declare war on Scotland and just take their shit.
We're here to party.
Yeah, like seriously, I was hanging out up here. What's his name's castle? King Malcolm of the Scots. I was just chilling there for like a year. Like, did he get sick of me?
You have to declare a caucus census belli, and I think to do that you have you have to open their portrait, right click to open diplomatic options, and you can declare war from there. But you can also send one of your advisors there to fabricate claims against them. So
so I can't just roll up in there and just be like,
no,
this is mine.
No, you gotta act. There's actually a procedure involved that you have to do first. So much.
Well, how rude. Yeah. I got raiders that rolled up on me too.
Yeah, France is not doing well right now.
So
yeah.
So to continue on with this.
Right.
No,
sorry.
it's fine. No, it's good. I just had another thought though. So to continue on with like a lot of this stuff, I think about like the damage that the early access thing does as well. Now, early access is meant to be a good thing, right? But too many people look at it as an opportunity to buy a game, and then they try and judge it on the fact that this is the game instead of no, this isn't like 1.0 game release. This is still technically alpha/beta, but we're releasing it to the public for them to give us feedback, and that can go really well in some cases and really bad in others. And I think one case of it being both good and bad all at the same time is Space Engineers. And Space Engineers has been in early access forever. Very long time.
Yeah.
And as a single player game, Space Engineers is great. It really is. But the problems that they run into is with their netcode with multiplayer and just the placement of all the blocks and like how everything has to be registered. It just doesn't it can run smooth sometimes, but if you get like a large number of blocks going on in there, it can really funky with the game itself. And I just don't know if that game will ever come out of early access, like ever.
Yeah, I don't trust that one because of what happened with their last game.
Right, and that's a good point because the minor wars or whatever.
Yeah.
And then they also have medieval engineers, and I have no idea where the development is on that because I haven't even been paying any attention. But I see the attempt of what they're trying to do with this game, and yet it's still falling short, which gives me really great concerns for and part of me feels like Elite Dangerous is still almost like an early access game with the amount of patching that constantly goes on with that game, or updates or changes or fixes just constantly. And I think about like Star Citizen, that's just like it was meant to be the dream game, but yet there's a lot of cause of concern there. The expectation as a gamer for me right now is like, it's one of those things where it's just like, I don't expect anything almost anymore. Like, it's just gotten to that. I get excited, but then like that excitement is just like, well, hold on there, buckaroo.
And that's really sad because I've talked to people on forums that seem to feel the same way you do. They just feel burned by early access. They feel burned by these games just over and over. It's robbing them of their joy of gaming little by little.
Well, just stay the hell away from early access shit then.
It's not just early access. That's part of the problem, but that's not the entirety of the problem. The problem is early access games that never get finished, and games that all this crap that's coming onto Steam every day, like that Flasher game today and Shower with Your Dad,
yes.
and just all this crap that's coming onto Steam. Like, it's a great time to be a gamer, but if you look at it another way, it's a terrible time to be a gamer.
Well, but there's nobody to blame but us because we buy that shit, unfortunately.
Yes.
This is true.
Yes. I just, yeah.
Because people would cry if personally, I hate the freaking like little chibi girl anime crap, that's like basically porn. Like what the hell was that Sakura Dungeon where it was basically like you're running around like fighting monster girls? So it's girls in bikinis that have monster ears and horns and stuff on their head, and then when you beat them up, then their clothes like explode off of them, and it's like, wow, okay, Steam, like, wow. So it's basically like, I wish there was a checkbox that I could click that was just like hide anything that's got an anime character as part of the as part of like the graphics for the game, right? Like if the logo for the game or whatever just has like any kind of anime girl, it's just like, just don't even, it doesn't even exist. They don't give me enough tools basically to manage my consumer experience. I would like to filter much more shit out. Although I guess it's to their advantage to not let me filter things out because I might see something that tempts me, I guess.
Yeah, it's tough. Like, I do like that there's some filters. Like, oh, I just don't want to see all this DLC for Guitar Hero or whatever that came out today. Click. That's nice.
Right. It's good to get rid of some of it, that's for sure.
That's another annoying part of DLC is like, oh, I have to pay $2 or $3 for each individual song.
What was it that happened? Was it the Disney Infinity thing? Like one day on Steam, they just fucking vomited.
Oh my god! Yeah,
like
the new
2 or 3 pages of DLC.
At least 2 or 3 pages of just DLC. Oh my god, I remember that. That was crazy.
Yeah, they're not the only ones that have done that. There's been a couple of things that came out and was just a giant flood of stuff, and it was just like, oh god. Honestly, the game that is the worst about DLC that I can think of immediately is Dead or Alive 6. Oh my god, so much DLC. You're like, and it's all clothes, right, for the girls in the game. So if you want to play like Barbie dress up with your girls, but oh my god, you're like $900 into that shit if you buy the full DLC wallop. And it's like, what? So it's ridiculous. Like, it blows away the train simulator thing. You can spend more money on dress-up clothes for your fighting game than you can for trains in Train Simulator. It's bonkers. And I own them all. I just want to say. Only the slutty ones.
That sounds like that sounds like a song. Only the slutty ones can play. Anyway. Yeah. So, yeah, well, God, I just totally lost track of my thought. But, yeah, so we were talking about medieval engineers. Going back to that for a second, I saw that the guy who owns the company that made Space Engineers and Minor Wars, he's hiring a CEO to help.
Because he realized, like, I'm not the guy that should be running this shit. Which is good sense, I think, because at some point you realize, like, I'm not the guy that should be running this. I'm not a business guy, I'm a coder or whatever. So yeah, you hire the skills that you lack. I hope he hires a good one. Oh, by the way, it's Dead or Alive 5, not 6.
Oh, is 6 even out yet?
No.
Okay.
But anyway.
Yeah, it's like going back to this game, Crusader Kings II. Like if a new gamer comes to this game, like I want to play Crusader Kings 2 with all the important DLC. How do you pick? Like, Jim, what did you got the game yesterday. What did you have to do to figure out the right DLC to get?
I had to go haunt the forums or the Reddit for Crusader Kings and read a lot. And yeah, I know, totally. But yeah, so I had to go and like lurk in the Reddit for a little bit and look for. They have like a big thread that's just like what DLC is actually essential. So what I found out from reading that is that all the features in the game as they add DLC are there. The AI can use it, but if you want to use it, then you have to pay for the DLC to unlock it as playable.
What?
But whenever they added like all the Middle Eastern stuff and like the Islamic hordes and all that crap into it, that's there. Like if you're playing just the vanilla game, that stuff is actually there and the computer is using it. But for you to use it, yeah.
That is...
Yeah, if you want to play one of those leaders, like those leaders were put in the game. But if you want to play one, then you got to pay. But it's there. So you're just unlocking the ability to click on it.
Jesus
Christ. Which I think is fair, right? Well, think about it. Like you and I have wildly different DLC, yet we're in a multiplayer game together. How?
That's true.
So yeah, that's the only way this would work.
I guess that's true. I mean,
but it sucks for people that like I forget what game it was, but it forced like a 6 gig download, and people like people that hadn't even bought any DLC or whatever, it forced them to download like 6 gigs of shit, and it's like why? Well, so you can play with people that have it. Okay.
The worst was the other day I loaded up Lord of the Rings Online for the first time in a while.
Oh God.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, it's good. I'm enjoying it.
No, I'm talking about the download that you had to do.
Yes. I swear, my game time on Steam is like 15 hours. 5 of that is the download.
How big is it? Like 50 gigs?
It's huge. I don't think it's 50, but it's a lot. It's a lot. Yeah. It took forever.
I remember when that game came out, it was like, oh my God, this is so gorgeous. And now I can't even look at it. It's like, oh, that's gross.
I think it's still gorgeous.
Really?
It's really impressive. Yeah.
I guess it's the UI and the clunkiness of the gameplay itself.
Compared to Elder Scrolls Online, who I think is doing DLC right, by the way.
They're doing okay, but look at Black Desert sometime, and you can never look at even Elder Scrolls Online the same again, because it's just like, oh God, that's what a game could look like. The problem is with Black Desert, it's like super grind. It's like Korean MMO to the max, right? So if you want to go in there and just grind stuff, it's like, okay, this is really cool. But it makes that mistake of like, let's have a field that's got 1,000 monsters in it, and you just stand next to one and swat at it, and then the other ones around don't pay any attention, right? So you could just go out there and grind. It's like picking dandelions in a field full of dandelions is what hunting monsters is like in that. So that doesn't really do it for me. What I really wish that they would come out with is a PC version of Monster Hunter. That would be awesome, because it's like you have to go out and hunt monsters. It's like playing Ark, right? You go out and you kill dinosaurs or wyverns or whatever, right?
Right.
And you get parts from them, and you use that to craft stuff so that you can go kill bigger shit. Wow, it's awesome, right? I mean, unfortunately, it's like a Nintendo exclusive property right now, so we're never going to see anything on the PC. So I wish that somebody would just like make a knockoff of it or something. Like, how come we've never had a Pokemon MMO?
You should play Cyrillum 2.
Okay.
It's a Pokemon style roguelike.
I have the first one.
Yeah, the second one apparently is even better. That's what I've
cool.
read. I haven't played it yet, but apparently the second one's even better. But what I was gonna say is, like, I think I like the way Elder Scrolls Online does DLC, because it's got major expansions that come out every quarter, and if you subscribe, you get access to all of those expansions as long as you're a subscriber, which is a great idea. With Lord of the Rings Online, they have major major expansions, but they also have little quest packs for certain levels. Little DD quest packs with like 100 quests each, right? And if you subscribe, you get those little quest packs, but you don't get the major expansions along with it. You still have to buy those separately. Yeah, exactly. Like if
So
sorry, go ahead.
have you played the Mordor stuff? Because that's what I'd be interested in.
No, I'm only like a level 11. I'm still a beginning elf, but I'm enjoying it. It's fun. It is kind of a throwy backy where it's like press 1 and wait until something dies. Okay, press
So
2,
do
3,
people?
4.
Yeah, do people give you a weird look when you're like, I have to go play with my elf?
No, I don't say that though. But
You should.
but yeah, I mean, World of Warcraft is I think Blizzard does a lot right. Let's just be honest. Blizzard does a lot right. But they're still sticking to the expansion route, and it works so well for them. You know, I mean, I guess
it's shocking, really.
I guess they can though. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, and then of course it gave them time because how long has it been since they've developed a new IP, right? And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, they just come out with Overwatch, right? They were working on another MMO. I forget what it was called, but that got shit canned, and then out of that came
That was Titan.
Yes, thank you. And then out of that came Overwatch. So it's interesting, but like, you know, they have their three major IPs being, you know, StarCraft, Diablo, and Warcraft, and yet you can play all of those like together in like their Heroes of the Storm game, and it's like the world of Blizzard is its own gaming world, which is why they have things like BlizzCon. So it's just like they know what they're doing. I'm gonna just say that.
You know, how many people do you know that say, you know, like, yeah, I'm a hardcore gamer, but the only games they've ever played are Blizzard? They've played everything Blizzard made, but they haven't bought anything outside of Blizzard's ecosystem. Because
Sure.
I work with one.
Have you ever like looked at the StarCraft II arcade?
Mm-mm.
Yeah. So StarCraft II, free to play. You can play the multiplayer content for free as long as it's not a ranked match or whatever. And then that also means that you can like you get access to the arcade, and the arcade is like custom games and custom game types, and there's like tower defense type games. There's all kinds of crazy shit. There's even an RPG in there now, like a StarCraft RPG, full on third person walking around maps RPG. All of that, and you think to yourself, I have over 1,300 games on Steam. And yet, there is enough content just through Battle.net to keep me busy with like 4 games.
That's true. That's true. I mean, they're pretty big games that you could play. You could. I mean, if the only games you owned were World of Warcraft and Diablo 3, you could play those forever. And barely run and hardly ever run out of content.
Some people do.
Some people do. I mean, with Diablo's randomization and World of Warcraft's just massive world, you can just play those for years. I have a hard time believing there are people who just buy Blizzard games. Like that's all they play are Blizzard games. Though, seriously, those people exist?
Sure.
What? There's so many.
Why not?
I don't know. I just think there are other games to play, and maybe in some cases better games. But that's just me, I guess. Like, I never got into StarCraft. I was more of a Total Annihilation guy.
Sure.
But, people still play those things. But I can't imagine that's all they play. Wait, Kilrathy's saying there are people that play nothing but WoW.
This is true.
Yeah, that is true. See, WoW to me is a social thing.
There are people who are still playing the original Guild Wars because those servers are still live.
They are?
Yarp.
Well,
that's amazing. I mean, I know that EverQuest, at least one of the EverQuest games, is still alive.
oh, EverQuest 1 went free to play if you want to play it.
That's
It's
impressive.
EverQuest 1, all the expansions. They did it on the same model as EQ2. So it's like, do you want to play a human, a dwarf, an elf? Okay, you can play for free forever. But if you want to play like one of the other gajillion races that you could be, then you have to pay to unlock that. And then, you know, do you want this feature, pay to unlock that? You know, so it's kind of it's microtransacted out a lot. Or you can subscribe, and if you're a subscriber, boom, it's all wide open. So
Oh. Do you know if the Asheron's Call games are still running?
Asheron's Call 2 died. Oh gosh, like immediately almost. And Asheron's Call 1 continued to run for quite some time. I don't think it's still up, but I will look. Because I have wondered about that, actually. Because Asheron's Call, that was like the first game I can think of that actually had like a bit of a living world where they would do stuff. Like I remember they had those black monoliths that were like hovering around, and one of them destroyed a city. And then they had a thing where there was like some demon that was trapped in a crystal, and they had like a world event to like break the crystal.
See,
they
that's what
thought
Guild
they were
Wars
getting
2
rid
does
of it.
now.
Yeah, they thought they were getting rid of the demon, but what they actually did was set it free. And then they had a GM running around as the demon, right? And it would show up places and just decimate, like the entire zone of people. It would just, like axe murder everybody. And then they finally had Asheron himself come back, and they had like a giant, like cataclysmic fight between Asheron and the demon, which I assume Asheron won. But yeah, I remember that stuff going down, and it was just like, damn, that was pretty epic for back in the day.
Yeah, I remember. I think it was Asheron's Call 1 or 2 where I saw like my first sunrise in a game that like looked anywhere near realistic, and it just took my breath away at the time. And yeah, I kind of miss those games. But yeah, WoW. I mean, WoW only has expansions. Right? They don't have like cosmetic DLC. Like even ESO has cosmetic DLC. But
No,
I don't think WoW does.
I don't think
right?
so.
Yeah.
No, I don't think so. Yeah, they just do the monthly subscription and the expansions. Now, what's interesting also about WoW is you can play that game for free as well, but only up until level 20, and then like after that, if you want to keep leveling up, you have to subscribe, or you can just stay at like level 20 for forever. Which is similar to what they're going to be doing with Eve soon. So,
yeah, you wanted to talk about Eve, so let's dive into that for a bit, folks. If you haven't heard the news, Eve is kind of going free to play, sort of.
It's free to start.
It's free to test, free to toy with. I mean,
well, how far can you go? In like, because they let you have the normal ships, right?
That's a great question though, because they're still gonna fine tune it. They're working with the community for the most part to figure out like what they think would be like the best. That way, it doesn't kind of like take advantage, like so people can't really take advantage of it. They're saying 5 million skill points right now, but it could change depending on what they might do. So you'll only be able to fly frigates, destroyers, and cruisers. Tier 1 frigates, destroyers, and cruisers. And only for your faction. So if you start out as an Amar, you can only do the Amar stuff. If you start out as Kaldari, Galente, or Minmatar, you can only do that stuff. And like Kilrathi's saying here, it's probably going to get hashed out over time. They're probably going to change some things. The rate at which you can learn your skill points is slower, so you can't skill up as fast as you could if you were a subscriber. So there's because they're trying to make sure that they don't open the door for just like a floodgate of like suicide like ganking guys. They want to make sure that they're not like gonna open up the floodgate for just a whole bunch of bots to go out and go mining. So they're trying to make sure that that the system doesn't get abused, in other words, but yet opens up the door for people to be able to do some things. Now, what's interesting about those tier 1 ships is you'll still be able to do stuff like missions. You'll still be able to go and participate in faction warfare, or you can still go into a fleet and do some of the incursion stuff. But as the game generally is, you are encouraged. Right, you can't own sovereignty. That's a good point. Thank you, Kilrath. You can't own sovereignty. But over, as the game naturally is, it encourages you to be with people. So if you find yourself like with a corporation who likes exploring wormholes, I'm sure, you'll get your feet wet being able to do everything. And that's what's actually kind of different about the way WoW does it and the way Eve is doing it, is with Eve, even though you can only fly certain ships, you'll be able to fly all over New Eden and see all the sights. As where with WoW, once you get to level 20, anything that's a higher level content, you're not going to be able to see it.
Right.
So there is a difference there, and I think the opportunity, instead of it being like a 14-day trial or a 21-day trial, it really gives people time, right? Because with Eve is so depthy and complex. A 14-day trial or a 21-day trial might not be enough time for people to really kind of understand what there is available to do in the game, or to really explore the potential that's in the game. So I think this really gives people an opportunity, also giving people an opportunity to kind of come back.
You know what I wish that they would do with that game is they would make some skill tree, like preset builds, where you just go in and you say, okay, you know what, I want to be this thing, and like I want to be a fighter, or I want to be a support guy, or I want to be a merchant, or whatever. Now. Oh, did they finally? So yeah, it's just like it picks your skills for you and trains them for you. And
well, it doesn't necessarily train them for you. It doesn't necessarily train them for you, but there are these tier pack things that you can buy that kind of give you it gives you equipment and the skill books, I believe, if I remember correctly. I was looking at the other day. So it's just like, if you want to be what do they call that?
Pimp.
Well, no. If you want to be like a miner, there's like a whole thing that helps you get set up to be a miner, and they give you all those tools. If you want to be a combat pilot, they give you, and they tell you like what type of faction to be.
Yeah, because the problem has always been paradox of choice. Because you log into that and it's like, there's 1 million skill books. What the hell do I do? And nothing says start here. So
well, hold on a second. I'm trying to look for the actual thing. That way I'm not. Oh, here we go. Content pack.
By the way, Ashran's Call is still alive and well. I'm watching a video of the July 4th party this year.
So these content packs are $5 each, and they're designed for new players, right? So like you can get the Explorer, the Industrialist, the Skirmisher, or the Colonist content pack. And I'm going to do the Explorer content pack here. I'm going to like read it off to you just real quick. Only available for active trial accounts. Content pack trial extension days can only be added once per trial. So it adds 20 extra trial days, which is kind of cool. It's a tailored pack of skills, saves you time and money while providing a focus for your early training as an Eve pilot. Specialized ship and equipment for your profession gives you a head start in your discovery of the world of Eve. Striking clothes and 750 AUR, which is like, again, in-store currency for like buying a shirt, which does nothing. It gives you...
Yeah, I'm very disappointed that the 3D character stuff never turned into anything. Like, you can get out and walk around, but you can't interact with other people or anything, last I saw.
Yeah, that's a whole nother discussion, which could be a whole show by itself, which I actually was talking a good deal about on my stream today. Then it gives you like core skills like Caldari Frigate, astrometric pinpointing, salvage drone operation, specialized skills, explorer ship and probes, explorer equipment. So this is for the Explorer content pack. So if you get like a 14-day trial, you buy this for $5. It gives you 20 extra days, right? Mm-hmm. And some specialization to like get you focused in the right direction of like what to do. So like they've done that, and the new player tutorial has been improved drastically, and they're still like working on making it even like more better, but even more better, which is not even a thing. But yeah, making it better.
That's good. I mean, so can we... What was that awesome frigate in the game? The Riften?
The Rifter?
Rifter. Will we be able to fly that as a alpha clone?
Probably, because it's a tier 1 frigate. So.
Yay! Okay, I'm back. Because I like that thing. I like that thing a lot.
I actually have a desk model of the Rifter, because I have the the second decade collector's edition. So it came with a Rifter USB hub. So like the engines are USB ports.
Oh, that's awesome. I want one now.
You can actually buy it, just that, off of Marky Dragon's store. He has like the individual parts from like the collector's editions for sale. So if you just want a Rifter, go and get a Rifter from Marky Dragon. This is not, we were not like advertising Marky Dragon like necessarily. We're not partners or anything, but he's got some really cool stuff in his store, Eve based. He's also got really great deals on Plex. So,
oh, is this inside Eve?
Yeah, you can actually get 2 Plex for $35 in his store, which is a steal. Normally they're $20 a piece.
Oh, I see this Rifter thing. Oh, that's awesome. It also comes with is that a lunchbox it also came with?
It came with like a board game
that
was inside of a lunchbox looking thing.
Oh, I see it. Yeah, because I'm looking at a picture of what came with the second decade thing. It looks pretty nice, like a nice set actually.
Yeah, I was actually really impressed with it. It also came with a whole bunch of codes for in-game content.
You can buy one for $35 on Amazon. Like apparently the whole set.
Are the codes used though?
I don't know. Hang on.
It's a brand new set, I guess.
Oh, I see. So the used set with probably the codes taken.
Probably. Someone just wanted the content, and the content's kind of silly shit too, right? So it's like tickets to the movie Clear Skies, which was a fan-made machinima about EVE Online. Just like parts of the first Titan that ever blew up, you know.
Okay.
Stupid shit like that.
So if you want the Rifter USB set, it's $190.
Oh yeah, that's right. It came with fireworks too. You could get fireworks and a fireworks launcher, and you can launch fireworks at people.
In the game, I'm hoping.
Yes, in the game. Of course, in the game.
That'd be funny if it was real fireworks. I'm getting my butt kicked in Crusader Kings, you guys.
Yeah, I got rolled, so I just let the AI take over.
Yeah, I know. It's my leader is still alive, but he's a lunatic with the Great Pox.
Excellent.
The Great Pox has made him an absolute lunatic, and his wife has cheated on him 3 times. So he imprisoned her, and she fled. It's pretty great.
Yeah, the thing I don't get in this game is I don't understand the relationships between characters. Right, so I know you can go to like opinion stuff, and you get it's like a spreadsheet, right? And it's like how many points of like or dislike does this guy have for that guy? Well, that's the thing. Like whenever I go in and it's like, oh, I want to appoint this guy to be, Duke of whatever, right? So I appoint that guy, and like 5 other guys get pissed off and rage quit. Right.
Well, yeah, because they wanted that. Because they wanted that job.
Yeah, but I had no way of knowing,
Yeah, that is true. There isn't like an Excel sheet with color coded.
Well, I just need lines, man. I want to see lines between people.
Oh, not like a heat vision thing where it's redder as they hate you more and greener as they like you more. That's what I was thinking. Some kind of chart.
If I could, like switch to a map mode where it's like, color the provinces by how much they like me or something. But then whenever I'm doing something with another person, like color the provinces by how much they like him or whatever. I don't know, something like that. They need a way to display this information because there's way too much.
There is a lot of information. Cooper was telling me that, if you just keep playing it, it'll click and it'll be simple.
But no.
But it's not. But I like it. I want to play more of it because I'm actually really enjoying it. But I cannot imagine a new player just grokking. And you know what the problem is with the DLC with this and like Europa Universalis? They've got these packs like the Extreme Pack or whatever that doesn't even include all the latest DLC. It just includes like a couple of the big DLC packs and a bunch of fucking faces and music and shit. And it hasn't been
and
it hasn't been updated in like years. It's like if you want people to buy your product, guys. Now let's talk about the elephant in the room for a second. I think it's the elephant in the room. Stellaris. Yes.
Yeah.
They've already released one bit of DLC, I think, so far, right? And it was plants, like plant people.
That did not go over well.
Am I right about that?
Yeah, it was basically portraits. It's like, do you want to play as plant people? Then buy this for $7 or $8, and all it does is just add portraits in. See, this is the problem that I have with that game. It doesn't matter whether my guys look like space badgers or space dinosaurs or space mushrooms.
They're
or
all
whatever.
equally boring.
Yeah.
They're
Well,
all
the
equally
same.
the same. Yes.
There's no behavior that a mushroom has that a space wolf doesn't. So why? It's like there's no limitation. There's no tendencies. I get no bonuses because I'm that. It's all like, what politics did you pick? And everybody could just be generic humans.
Pretty much.
So I embraced the humans, though. I made the space North Koreans, and it's awesome.
It's funny because I was playing the original Master of Orion this week, and it's so much better than Stellaris. It's 26 years old.
Ain't it, though? All right.
And those characters have more variety and spice to them than anyone in Stellaris.
I'm telling you, man. I've been playing the new Master of Orion. I like it quite a bit.
It's not bad. It's not bad. Yeah.
But Dan DiCicco knocked it out of the park with Star Drive 2.
I don't agree. I do not agree with you.
I'm just saying, if I want to play Master of Orion 2, I just grab Star Drive. But the thing that I go into it knowing is that it's a war game. It's not about politics, right? It's about crush your enemies, and everybody's your enemies. It's just, are they my enemies right now, or can I delay that a little bit while I kill the other guys that are more hostile? But yeah, you're gonna annihilate everybody basically. I do wish that there was some better diplomacy in there, where it was actually like, hey, I could make an alliance, and me and the cat people like hold hands and skip off into the sunset after we kill everybody else. But it's just not, And some of the AI is super aggressive. I mean, like the Chuck. I'm gonna do a let's play where I just play the Chuck, and it's just like from day one. Build a lot of ships, go kill people, right? that's like the only thing the Chuck do is and the dialogue is hilarious too, because it's just like, hey, you've met the Chuck, prepare to die, and because they're coming for you, because they're hyper aggressive, and no amount of politics or gifts or anything is going to slow them down. They're just going to roll over you. So if the Chuck are in the game, that's normally with those things, I'll start building like infrastructure, and I try to get my colonies up to a certain size, and then I'll like expand over to another colony. You don't want to expand too soon because that puts too much drain on the economy, and then neither place is doing well. So you get it to a certain point, whatever. No, if I'm playing Star Drive, it's like I race to get cruisers in orbit fast because I know that somebody's going to show up and they're going to have a freaking battle fleet about 50 turns into the game, and if I don't have one to deal with it, I'm dead. So it's just, you have to play it a little bit differently than Master of Orion. But I think it is a better Master of Orion 2 than the new Master of Orion.
I agree.
And I do wish that they had gone with a little bit more Master of Orion 1 instead of... Okay,
I
so
agree.
it's like whenever I build buildings on a planet, it doesn't make sense to me that it's like, oh, okay, well, this planet is going to be all industry and this planet is going to be all science or whatever, right? Because every planet is going to have some contribution of whatever. So really you should be setting a ratio with like the 3 sliders. It's like, okay, you have X amount of production per turn. What are you going to put it into? Well, I'm going to put like a third of it into science and half of it into production, and then the remainder goes into farming or whatever, right? And but it's still like you're still going to produce science there, but you can just kind of like put where your emphasis is. And that seems a little better to me. It treats a planet as just a generic, it's just like as the population grows, they generate X amount of whatever, and hey, that planet has a bonus to production. And you're going to get it whether you have the production at high or low or whatever, but it enables you to actually get more out or something. But with Master of Orion 2 and
every other 4X that's
every other
since.
Yeah, I was trying to think the Galciv. Yeah, Galciv is the worst for this because it's a real estate game, right? It's like, okay, I have to play Tetris with my factories because if they have an adjacency bonus, and I have to put the factories wherever, but no, there's a pretty forest there, and I could put like a science thing there, but that's going to break my factory chain and whatever. But it's just like, God, you think about the planet Earth, right? And how much of everything we have here. It's like everything we know about science and industry and everything is coming off this one rock. So that's why it's like Star Warsism, right? Where it's like, okay, there's one currency in the entire galaxy. We all use, Latinum or whatever, right? Well, here on Earth, we have currency problems because just, neighboring countries have different currencies. So there's complexity of the economics just in one planet. Now, let's say that without dumbing Earth down to a unified world government, let's just add another planet in the mix. Like aliens come and they're our friends and they have a planet just like Earth. Well, holy shit, now we've got real problems because we've just doubled the number of currencies that are going around, and we need to come up with some exchange rate between worlds. And, it's like, well, what can we trade to them that they don't have? Because we can consume everything that we make here on our own planet. What would we export? Right. Well, something they don't have that they're going to pay for. Right. But if the planet is completely self-sufficient, I don't see a basis for trade between races, because it's like, well, why are the guys from Alpha Centauri going to want our chocolate chip cookies, or whatever? Like, they can't make their own. Right. It's, interesting thing, right? How much money do we spend shipping, like, you get those tins of like Dutch butter cookies around the holidays. How much money do we spend shipping butter cookies from Europe to here when we could just make them here and put them in a tin that says Dutch butter cookies? Right? I don't know, man. That's just me.
No, you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
Yeah, so it just it's an interesting thing about let's make some rules, and they have to simplify and abstract everything because it's a board game basically.
Yeah.
But it's like, wow, I would like to see it considered sometime. In a game like Stellaris, what I was hoping for Stellaris would be, hey, you know what? This planet might have multiple different territories on it, something like that, right? It's like maybe this planet has 5 countries and they don't all get along, and you have to deal with like who your vassals are on that planet or something. And we didn't get any of that shit, but it's more Master of Orion than like a Crusader Kings or your Europa Universalis kind of thing, I guess. And I was hoping for less Master of Orion because it's been beaten to fucking death.
Oh God.
And
yes.
just don't do that. So, and that's why I'm so into that Imperium game that those guys are making, because it is freaking Crusader Kings in space,
or whatever it's called
mod,
now. Yeah.
And the Dune mod for that is going to be amazing when it comes out, because it will.
What the fuck? Alliance of the Sacred Sons, I think it's called now. Oh God.
Alliance of the Fading Sons.
That's a mouthful.
Yeah.
Oh my!
It's got to be something Fading Sons.
I keep wanting to call it. I keep wanting to call it Ashes of the Singularity. I keep wanting to have that. I keep wanting to say that. But Stellaris is so frustrating, and I worry.
It's like I like it, but I don't.
Yeah, it's like I was enjoying it until they forced me to do the sector thing, and they took control away from me. It's like, hey, wait a minute, I was doing something with that. Stop.
Well, the sector thing is kind of like what I was saying about like planets. You know, you don't have a monoculture, right? So it's like, okay, I got these planets over there, and I can't manage all of this shit, so now I have to have a vassal, right? Which is basically what they did. So it's like I got to appoint a governor, and he's going to run that shit over there. And then I get to tell him generally, like, please concentrate on the military. But he's gonna make things self-sufficient as well, right? So it's not like he's gonna just go whole hog, nothing but factories, and we just shit out ships and starve all day. You know, which is what you would do if it was you, right? You'd be like, this planet, I get the best bonuses to building ships here, therefore nobody lives here that does not build spaceships. Like nothing happens but spaceships here. Yeah, but the governor system avoids that because it's like, no, we're self-sufficient, and then we're going to try to do what you asked us to do. So that's a little more real, I think. But I can see where it's frustrating if you're just like, I want absolute control, and I want to make crap where I want to make it.
Right.
I think it should honestly be that you put the call out in the Empire, right? That you just say, I want 5 battleships. And I don't give a fuck who makes them, but I want them in 3 turns, right? And then the governors figure it out. And fine. I mean, that's the level of control that I want. I want to be the damn emperor. I just want to be like, I want this, and I want it by then. You guys figure that out. And I think it would also be fascinating if somebody would make a single planet game where you are that governor. You're just the guy that runs the one planet, and you start getting orders dropped on you from above, right?
That'd be fun.
Like the guy playing the 4X wants this. Oh shit. Oh, now he moved the slider over to nothing but food production. Shit. Now we got to tear the factories down and build farms.
I'm surprised no one's done that. Honestly,
because nobody's as cool as me, man. I have these ideas. Somebody should do that. Get on it.
Well, let's start wrapping it up. We've been talking for like an hour and a half. We're not playing Crusader Kings anymore, and I'm losing. My guy's a lunatic.
I
sorry.
think it was the syphilis.
Yeah, sorry I didn't talk as much to you in the chat this week as I could have. We were just trying to focus on talking to each other. Sorry about that, folks. But yeah, I don't feel any better about gaming after talking about all the DLC and everything. I feel a little worse, actually.
Well, at least we still have the classics. You know what I'm saying? Like we.
Yeah, no, of course. No, I totally agree. But yeah, it's like, I wonder if this is gonna blow up. People thought it would blow up after the horse armor. No, it didn't. It didn't blow up.
Well, I think what we have here is what you would call the lemon market, right? Because it's a loss of consumer confidence. That's the whole thing that we're seeing with the Star Citizen deal, is that people got invested in it, and you're watching people that have a lot of money in it trying to have blind faith that something's going to come of that, right? And they'll deny it. You know, you could just be like, hey, man, the company closed up yesterday. They're done. They're like, it doesn't matter. They're going to come back. They're going to finish the game. You know, it's like, whatever. But that's a symptom of the lemon market thing, right? Because then there's people that see a thing, and it could be something run by like the most upstanding people in the universe, and they have a solid plan, and they have reasonable goals, and they're going to deliver, you know, a set thing, and they know they're going to ship it at this time. Can you fund us on Kickstarter? Well, I don't know, because you know, it's like whenever I go to a used car dealer, he's going to tell me that's the best car ever. I have no idea, right? So he has all the power in the transaction because he has all the knowledge, and I'm just kind of on faith. So therefore, it makes me a little leery as a consumer. It's like I have no power here. All I have is a purchase decision, and you're asking me to buy in before I get to see the final product.
You have no power here.
Exactly. So that's going to be nothing but detriment to the market, because I mean, you saw how it was. You know, I mean, think about the reputation that used car dealers have, right? I mean, you know, that's a thing from the 70s and 80s, right? When we had that crazy ass lemon market where they had basically junk cars, stolen cars, God knows what, that were flooding the used car market, and they had to come out with legislation to kind of fix that because the consumer, it collapsed. Like people just weren't buying used cars anymore because when you get burnt once, you assume every car is a lemon. So I don't know why the consumers are so slow in backlash against just crowdfunded stuff and early access stuff and all this just in general, right? It's taking much longer than I thought. I was saying 2 years ago is like the end is nigh, and people are still dumb enough to fall for it. I'm still dumb enough to fall for it sometimes if the game's pretty enough, because I'm just like, whatever, it'll be okay. I got to satisfy my curiosity right now.
Right, of course.
Yeah.
Because we're impatient and we need it now.
Well, it's about
too many
it's
young
about
guys with no girlfriends. That's funny.
No, it's about putting out the fire of curiosity, right? It's like I have to douse the flames of curiosity, otherwise I'm going to just sit here and think about it. And the only way to not is to just throw money at it and have it over with, right? And then you get the game and it's like, oh, yeah, I screwed around with that for like an hour and that was the end of the content. So, all right, well, I'll come back to it in 6 months. All right, that's the pattern, right? So think about this, though. People who are trying to be like YouTubers, right? And actually drive it as a because there's X number of people that actually make income from that. And then there's 100 times, maybe 1,000 times that many people that are like, okay, well, I can be a contender. I can get in here. I can do whatever. But you're constantly chasing, like, what's the popular early access game that dropped this week? I got to get that. I got to play that. Like, No Man's Sky, right? Like, how many YouTubers had to run out and buy No Man's Sky day one because I got to stream that or I'm not going to get the views or whatever. So, and it's this other guy, Blue Drake, he had a long rant. I don't agree with him on a lot of things, but on this I did. Remember whenever I had that outburst in the forum where I was like, fuck it, I quit because I can't afford to chase after these games anymore and whatever. And he basically said the same thing about a year and a half after me, but he's actually in the YouTube game of doing it, right? And he is making money on this, so it's kind of his thing. But he was just saying, like, I'll do something for a while, and if it's not making money, I just go do something else, right? And this just happened to randomly work out. But he's like, I see all these other people out there, and they're just buying up all this stuff so that they can present it and hope that it goes viral. And well, that one didn't, so I'll buy the next game. He's like, at that point, you're the customer. You're not the person doing the PR work.
To add to that, I mean, look at the. I know Brian wants to wrap this up, but I mean, to add to that, look at the loot crate market, right? So it's just like, what's Loot Crate's thing? Well, Loot Crate's like, well, when you get the box, document it, like open it up, put it on YouTube so everybody else can see it. And then it's just like, that's what everybody ended up doing.
Oh, the whole unboxing crowd?
Yeah, and now it's just like, there's a whole, and then like,
Loot Crate sucks anymore, by the way. I'm on the verge of canceling it.
Well, it's just like, I don't even see people doing unboxing videos anymore. Like, that's just not a thing that has come up in my YouTube feed in quite a long time.
You know what's freaky? Speaking of Loot Crate and geek junk toy shit, Think Geek actually has brick and mortar stores now. They opened one here. I was like, what? It's what? Like, yeah, they're affiliated with GameStop now. I don't know if it's like one and the same company anymore or what that has evolved into, but GameStop has Think Geek merch in the store, and in some cases they've either opened a new store or transformed a GameStop whole hog into, like, boom, here's a Think Geek, and it's a toy store for you and me. It's crazy.
Yeah, I'm not sure how I feel about that.
Yeah,
tied together with GameStop.
Well, it's like you see it on the website, right? It's like, oh, that's a cool thing. But if it's actually there, like tangible, like impulse buy, like, oh, this is actually pretty cool. All right, I'll buy it because it's here, it's right now. Like I don't know, those Wampa sleeping bags or whatever. It's like, yeah, it's funny, it looks cool online, but oh shit, now I'm really looking at one. Oh, that's actually kind of nice. All right, I'll buy it. $1 million, I don't care. Right? So I guess that's what they're tapping right there is the impulse buy and the people that want to actually see the tangible thing. And personally, I would say How many people do this with retail? Like, I go to a brick and mortar store, I look at something, and I decide, like, yeah, I'm going to buy that. And then I whip my phone out, and I scan the code on it, right, and look it up on, like about 5 different websites.
So many times. Many times.
Why isn't that just the business model? It's like, we have one of everything. One. We don't have any stock. One of. And if you want it, it'll drop off to your house tomorrow. Right? But here's everything. You can walk around, look at it, touch it. Yeah. Yeah, like Amazon, they could totally do brick and mortar stores where it's just like, here's one of everything. And this is all that we sell. I don't know. There was a place when I was a kid that did that very thing, right? It was like a department store, and it was like an O'Neill's or kind of thing. I forget what it was actually called, but it was like a high-end store, right? Like, they had nice lamps and stuff, like a more so than like a Sears or a Penny's, right? I mean, it was like, nice stuff. So you'd go in there, and they had one of everything, and it had cards, right? And you'd just take the card off the thing, go up to the cash register, and buy it, and they would give you a number, right? So you're like, oh, you're number 42. All right, so you go stand in line, and they had a conveyor belt that came up from the basement, and the whole basement of this place was a giant warehouse, and they would actually send stuff up. They would pick the order and send it up the conveyor belt. And it would just like put the number. It was like picking up your luggage at the airport, right? It's like 42, and then here comes your stuff. So that's the only time I've ever seen a place that was like that, and I'm shocked that we don't see more of that, right? Because it's almost like brick and mortar is just a showcase, and then I'm going to buy it online anyway. But anyway. Yes.
Yeah, sorry, I'm falling asleep actually, so we should stop. I got up very early today. So, folks, next week, to me, we have an exciting guest.
Woo!
You might remember in the early to mid '80s, there were a couple of games called Starfleet. There was Starfleet.
Hey.
There was Starfleet: The War Begins.
Was this Interstellar?
Yes, and then there was Starfleet 2: Krelling Commander. We're having the guy who created those games on next week, which I am very excited about. Oh, God, what's his name? Thomas something. I'm blanking. But we're having him on next week to talk about those two games. And he did a couple other games after that. Thomas Sorensen. I think
sounds right.
I want to double check. But, yeah, we're having him on next week to primarily talk about the... There was also another game that came out after Starfleet 2. It was like Star Raiders or something. Trevor Sorensen. That's his name. It came out with Interplay in 1993, I think. It was basically almost like an Empire type game, but it was the planetary landing portion of Starfleet 2 with better graphics is basically what the entire game was. And did you know Empire is considered a game in the Starfleet universe? I didn't know that.
Really, I had no idea. I do remember Empire though. It was a very strange, almost an RTS, wasn't it?
Almost, yeah. It was very.
It wasn't turn-based, was it? It was real-time, but very slow real-time.
Very slow real-time, if I recall correctly. But yeah, that's part of the Starfleet universe too, I believe. I think. But it was made by the same people at the very least.
It's nutty.
I know, right? So we're gonna have him on next week. That's exciting. Because it's hard to find people who made these old games. It's difficult as shit.
It's going to get harder.
It is.
You're going to have to, like, bust them out of the nursing home or something. And,
I'm still trying to get a podcast for Starflight together, and it's proving very difficult. Because it's the 30th anniversary of that game this year. Believe it or not. So we're going to have Trevor on next week to talk about the classic Starfleet games. And then Thursday, we're returning to Pulsar Lost Colony because we had such a great time last time. We're going back. Our friend Spaz has been playing on his off time. He has a carrier that he's going to let us run around in and probably destroy.
I cannot wait.
I'm excited. I'm quite excited to see. Guys, if you haven't seen Pulsar Lost Colony, it is turning out real nice. Like, shockingly nice. It's surprising how good that game is. Surprising. Anyway, I'm rambling. I'm losing my mind. So, folks, thank you for listening and watching, and we'll see you next week. Have a good night.